Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Sumit from Backbench Coder. So we have almost completed the setup needed for our app. The only setup is left is Redux, and that's what we are going to do in this section. Now if you have watched the introduction part, I have told you that you need to know the absolute basics of Redux, like what is Redux, why we need Redux, what are the problems without having a state management library, and like what is Redux middlewares and all these basic stuff. So again guys, if you don't know the basics of Redux, a lot of tutorials available over the internet. In fact, my playlist in this channel. So please learn the basics of React, and once you understand the Redux flow, you will love this. Believe me, you will love Redux. And now if you need a quick refreshment of Redux, here it is. Okay, so this is the Redux unidirectional flow. Okay, so the whole point of Redux is it will have a single store, and all the data which are needed to be shared among components will be stored in that store. And you can refer the store as the global state. So this one is my global state, and the other point is you can read data from the global state easily, just in one line of code. But if you want to modify data in the global state, you have to use a dispatch function. And dispatch is a fancy function offered by Redux, so you don't need to worry about this. Okay, so let's try to understand this Redux flow. So let's say you want to add some data in the global state, and that data will come through a public API. Okay, so to achieve that, inside this React component, you need to create an action creator. And what's the difference between an action creator and an action? Action returns an object and action creator returns a function, and that function will eventually create an action. So that's the difference between action creator and action. And why you need an action creator? You need to know the basics of Redux. Okay, so let's say we have an action creator, something like add data. And inside this action creator, I have this middleware function. So this middleware function will call the API, will get the data and prepare the data, and then it will create an action object. And what is an action object? The action object has two values, type and payload. Type is the type of operation you want to perform on the store, and the payload is the data related to that operation. That's as simple as that. So I have this action, and that action will eventually hit the reducer. And what's the reducer? Reducer is nothing but a function. So it will take the previous state and the current action, and based on that action type, it will return a new state. It will not mutate the state, it will return a new state, and that store will be updated with that new state, and then from that store my components can read the data. Okay, so that's as simple as that, the unidirectional Redux flow. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention is this hooks. So this use selector hooks is used to get the data from the Redux store, and then this use dispatch hook is used to get the dispatch function. That's it. Okay, so let's go to the code and create the Redux store. And by the way guys, I have also prepared this diagram, which is Redux in our app. I have created this diagram to show you how authentication will go through the Redux flow, and we'll come back later. This is by the way the same diagram, but this is related to our app. Okay, so let's go to the code and create the store. Okay, so first of all you need to install 4 npm packages. Redux, that's the central library. React Redux to connect our React app with the Redux state management library. Redux Thunk, which will be used as the middleware, and then Redux DevTools extension, which will be used to visualize our store. So just install these 4 libraries. And by the way guys, I have already installed this cause last time you know what happened. So just install these packages and then follow along. Okay. So first of all, inside this source, just create a Redux folder. Redux. Inside this Redux folder, create a file which is store.js, which will hold our Redux store. Inside this Redux store, just close this. Nice. So import 2 functions from Redux. So import from Redux, first mention the package. Okay. So first of all, import create store, that will create our store. And the second one is apply middleware, as we are going to apply some middlewares, which is Redux Thunk, the only middleware. Okay, then create the store. So const store, create store, and this store needs a reducer and the initial state. So let's create the reducer. First of all, create the initial state. So initial state, what, like let's say just to set up the store name is Sumit, and age is 21. That is cool. And let's create the reducer. Let's create the simplest reducer possible. So it will get the initial state. I don't have any action, and just return the initial state. That's it. Initial state. Okay, so just pass the reducer. First argument has to be reducer. Second argument is my initial state. My VS Code is damn slow. And now I also want to use a store enhancer, which is composed with DevTools, and that will visualize our Redux store, and with that we can actually time travel. we can do Redux time travel. So import from Redux DevTools extension the library we have installed, and just import composite DevTools. Let me control space, yes, composite DevTools, and just copy this function. So composite DevTools, inside this my apply middleware function. So apply middleware, I told you my VS Code is damn slow. Okay, so the middleware we need is a Redux thunk. So let's import this. So import thunk from Redux thunk. Okay, so just pass the middleware inside this apply middleware thunk. That's it, my store is ready, and let's just export this. So export default store, not stereo, store. Save. Oh wow, save this. That's it. And now to connect our Redux store with the React app, we need to wrap our whole app with this Redux store. So just go to index.js. Inside this my app component, which is the root component. So we need to wrap this app with a component called provider. So let me just import this, which will be imported from React Redux. Oops, import from React Redux. The name of the component is provider. So just copy the provider inside this app component. Provider, just wrap this. Just wrap the app. That's it. And now we need to pass the store as the property. So store, inside the store property, just pass the store. It should be auto imported from my Redux store. Let me see. Please. Yes, it did. Import store from /redux/store. Okay, so my store is ready. I have connected the store with my React app. So now at this point, if you go to your browser, you should see your store. So just go to your browser. You need to install a Chrome extension, which is called like Redux DevTools extension or something like that. Okay, so just install the extension and go to your Chrome DevTools, Ctrl+Shift+J, and then here is my Redux. If you can't find this Redux tab, just click on this arrow and then you will get that. Okay, so just refresh this. Let's see. And here it is. So just go to state, and here is my value, name Sumit is 21. Look at this. This init function is fired. That is the first function fired by Redux store, which just set our initial state. Okay, so this is my action tab. Look at this, the type is init. This is my state. So I can see all the state here, and then this is a difference. The states are equal. Trace, test, you don't need that. And with this slider, you can actually time travel. And how? I'll show you in the upcoming videos. Okay, so just go to Redux folder. A couple of things I need to do. Inside this Redux folder, here it is. Just close the components. Inside this Redux folder, just create another folder which is actions, which will hold all our actions, and another folder inside this Redux which is reducers, and another file which is types, or you can say action types, which will hold our action type, action types.js. That's it. That's my folder structure for the Redux. Okay, so let's now implement the authentication using the Redux Flow. So we are going to use authentication with Google using Firebase. So just go to your Firebase app and you need to enable the authentication for Google. So just go to your Firebase app, firebase.google.com. Oh, I need to log in. Nice. Okay, so I had to log in and then click on this go to console. Click on your project. Mine was not YT. After that 30 times. Okay, so inside this project, just click on this authentication tab. Authenticate and manage users from a variety of providers without a server-side code. Get started. Okay, so inside this sign-in method, you will have a lot of options like email and password, phone, Google Play games. But what you need is this Google. So just click on this edit menu and then enable this, and it will automatically generate your client ID and client secret. So you need to give your email address here and then save. That's it. Okay, so this is finally enabled, and inside this web SDK configuration, you can see your web client ID and web client secret. Okay, so that's it. Now go to your app and just go to the file firebase.js. Here I just need to export my auth object. So first of all, import firebase/auth, the auth module, import firebase/auth, yes, this one, and at the end export default Fireabse .auth the function. That's it. That's what I need. And now I need to create an action creator. So before that, just go to the diagram I have mentioned before. So Redux in our app. Okay, so this is the same diagram. I have this central store, and inside this central store I have this auth object which takes care of all the authentication part. Okay, so here is my login component. So if you click on this login button, it will dispatch an action creator which will take care of the login process. And inside this action creator, I will have this Redux thunk which will be used as the Redux middleware, and then this Redux thunk will talk to the Google Auth API and get the authenticated data, and using that data it will fire an action which has the type of login success and the payload is the access token, and then this action will hit the auth reducer, and then auth reducer will take the action, will get the action.type, and based on that action type it will return a new state, and the new state is authenticated is true, and now the user is authenticated. And now inside this login component I can just get the data and redirect my user to the home page, and then from this app component I can check the data and see if the user is authenticated or not, and that's very simple. So just go to firebase.js, or not firebase.js, just go to action folder and let's create an action. So name of the file is auth.action. The action is because it's an action file. I like to use this, you may or may not. So auth.action.js, just create an action creator, and action creator is nothing but a function. So const login, and it will also get the dispatch function, and it will be an asynchronous function as I am going to do some asynchronous call. And inside this dispatch, just use a try catch block to handle the exception inside an asynchronous call. That's it. And this crazy syntax, this dispatch and then this arrow function and all, it's nothing but this login function is returning a dispatch function, and then this whole block is inside this dispatch function. So just using ES syntax you can just make this shorter. That's it. Font is little smaller, I guess. Yeah, that is cool. Okay, so before I write some action creator logic, first of all I'll create some action types. So just go to action types, and here just export some constant variables which is login success. I'll fire this if the login is successful. So login success underscore success, and then just copy this, then using a multi cursor. The second one is login failed. If anything goes wrong I'll fire this action, and the third one is login request at the starting of the request so that I can show a loader, and then the fourth one is logout if the user logs out. Okay, and the last one is load profile, and I'll be talking about that in a minute. Load profile, that's it. Save this. Now go to action creator, auth.action.js here. So I'm going to use Google Auth provider, right? So first of all I need to create the Google Auth provider object. So for that I need the auth object I just exported from my Firebase file, from my local Firebase file. Import, first mention the file, // Firebase, and this is my default export, right? So just auth, that's it. And we need the Firebase module, so import Firebase from Firebase app module, Firebase/app, that's it. And now inside this try catch block, inside this try I should say, first create the Google Auth provider. So const provider using the Google Auth provider class. So firebase.auth.Google Auth provider, and just call this constructor. It will give me the provider object, and now I just need to pass this provider object to my sign in method. So using the auth object, auth dot whichever sign in method I want to use. So here are a lot of options like confirm password reset, create user with email and password, fetch sign in methods for email and all. So I need basically sign in with pop-up, this one, sign in with phone number, sign in with pop-up, this one, and just pass the provider object we have just created. That's it. And this will return me a promise, so I need to handle this with await, and that's why I've also used this asynchronous function, and just get the response in res. Nice. and just log out the response, log res. So just save this, and we need to dispatch this action creator now. So just export this action creator, export, nice. And now we need to dispatch this from our login screen. So login screen.js, inside this login screen I need to dispatch this if I click on this button. So let's create an on-click handler. Let's name this handle login, just create the function at the top, const handle login, just an arrow function. It will dispatch my action creator, right? So I need to get the dispatch function. And how can we get that? Using the use dispatch hook. Redux hooks is a revolution, by the way. So const dispatch, the use dispatch hook, use dispatch, this one should be auto imported, no? So control space should be auto imported from React Redux. Yes, use dispatch from React Redux. So I got the dispatch function using the use dispatch hook, and now I just need to dispatch this. So just dispatch. Inside this dispatch function I need to pass the action creator. So just import the action creator. Actually my auto import will do my job. So name of the action creator is login. This ones should be auto imported. Just call this function. Remember we have to call this function, and should be auto imported from /redux/action/auth.action. Thanks to my auto import. Save this. That's it. Okay, now let's see the data in our console, and then we'll come back and create a reducer. So just go to your console, YouTube, using YouTube console. Do I have an error? Go to 2 errors. Wow. So the tag dic is unrecognized. I mean DIC. So if you mean to render, okay, just leave this, not a problem related to Redux. Okay, so let's go to /auth. Just click on this login at Google. Look at this, it fired my action, and here is my login pop-up. Sign in at Google. Click on any of this account, like I have 12 or 13 Gmail accounts. Just click on this code.sumax. Go to the console. Here it is. I have my user. So what I need basically from this credential, I need this access token. Using this access token I can be authorized in the YouTube API. And what else I need? From this additional user info, I need this profile. So from this profile I can get the email, I can get the family name, given name, granted scope. This scope is important. I'll be talking about this scope in a minute. And then this name and the picture, my user avatar. So that's it. So my data is coming, and let's create a reducer to handle the data. So inside this reducer function, let's create a reducer which is exactly the same, but this time the reducer. So auth.reducer.js. Again the reducer is optional. I use this so that I can recognize that file as a reducer. Okay. So this reducer is nothing but a function. Let's name this auth reducer. And this function will get the initial state, or I should say the previous state. So previous state is equal to an initial state. I'll be creating that state in a minute. And then the action, the current action. Okay. So let's create the initial state. So what I need inside this initial state, I need the access token. So if the access token is null, it means my user is not authorized. So at the initial state this is null, and my user profile, so user, which is also null, and the third one is the loading state, which is false. Okay, so inside this previous state just pass the initial state, that's it. And now this action will have the payload and the type. So let's destructure this. So from this action I'll get the type and the payload. And now you can use some multiple if condition to check if the action is that, then do that, if the action is that, then do that. But the better way is to use a switch case. So switch, the father of if else, switch. Inside this I'll just pass the type, just a normal switch case. And here I'll check if the case, if the action type, so if the action type is login request, and this login request is defined in my action types variable. So just let me import this, should be auto imported. Let's see. Yes, login request from this /accent type. Okay, so if the accent type is login request, I return a new state. Okay, so first of all copy the previous state, whatever we have in the previous state, and then just override the loading state to true. That's it. And this is giving me an warning because I need to put a default case. Default what? If any of this case does not match, just return the previous state. If any of this case does not match, save this. Okay, and now let's handle the second case, which is login success. Login success should be auto imported, yes, and just double check if your auto import did work or not. I am using a linter, so I am 100% sure that login success is auto imported. Okay, so just return, not a brace, just return an object. Just copy the previous state, and now if the login is success, I'll update my access token to the payload, and I'll get the access token as the payload. And then the important thing is just put the loading back to false. And let's now handle the login fail. Just copy this case, paste this here. This is my login fail, and again just import this login fail auto imported. I'll copy the previous state, but the access token is null. If something goes wrong in our authentication, the loading is still false, and an additional property which is error, which is payload. That's it. Okay, and let's handle the user also. So for that I have also created an action which is load profile or something like that, I guess. Load profile, yes. So for this just return again, copy the previous state, but this time the user should be updated with the payload, and payload is again the data related to the action, and I guess a load profile is not imported, that's why this is the red underline. So control space auto imported. Okay, so let's now export the auth reducer. I need to import my auth reducer in my store. Exported, just go to store.js. Okay, so first of all I'll import another function from this Redux, which is combine reducer, because my store will have multiple reducers, so I can combine this using combine reducer. Combine reducers, that's it. I don't need this initial state. Actually just remove the whole initial state and just pass an empty object inside this reducer. Just rename this or just remove the reducer. Let's create a reducer again, const root reducer, and that will combine my all reducer. So let's call the combine reducer. Inside this combine reducer I can pass an object, and here I'll get the auth reducer. Please auto import, do your job. Nope. Okay, so I need to manually import this. So at the top, import from inside the reducers, inside the auth reducer, I'll get my auth reducer, that's it. And I'll actually pass this as the auth. So auth as the auth reducer, and now I need to pass the root reducer to my store. Save this. Oh wow, nice. Root reducer, copy this, save this. No error. Nice. And now let's fire this action. So go to your action file, auth.action. Let's close this one. Okay, like look at this, the dispatch is not yet used, it is saying use me. Okay, so first of all at the top, when I am firing my action, I'll fire the login request so that I can show the loader. So inside this dispatch I'll create an action, and the action type has login request. Login request should be auto imported. Nope, this time did work. The type is login request. I have no payload, that's fine. And now when this is success, so when I got the data, first of all extract the data, prepare the data. So what I need the access token. So just extract the access token in an access token variable. So I can get the data using credential.access token. Nice. And then from the profile I need the name and the photo URL, and then if you need anything else you can just get that from the profile object. So let's create a new profile object. So profile So the name is the name, so I'll get that from the response dot additional user information I have shown you, and then profile, yes, and then display name, yes, and then the photo URL, so photo URL, and I'll get this from res dot additional user info dot profile photo URL, save this. Okay, fine, and let's now dispatch this. So dispatch what, my login is success, so that's why I'll fire the login success type. So this object is called the action, that's it. So type is login success, please, yes, auto imported, and then the payload is what, my access token. So when this login success is fired, inside this auth reducer I'm catching this login success and then returning a new state, so the access token is coming as the payload. So that's why I'm just restructuring the payload and then set the access token. That's it, really simple. Once you understand the Redux flow, you'll love this. Okay, so my login success is fired, and let's now fire the load profile. Dispatch type is load profile, auto imported, nope, this time auto imported, and then payload what, my profile, the object I just created. Save this, not payload, it's payload. Save this, that's it. And if anything goes wrong in our code, I'll catch this. First of all, I'll log out this. So log out the error.message, and then I'll dispatch the login fail. So dispatch, just create an action. The type is login fail, of course. Login fail should be auto imported, and the payload what, the error.message, that's it, not payload, error.message, that's it. And I'm sending the error.message as the payload, and then again auth.reducer will catch this and will set the error as the payload. As simple as that. Okay, so now at this point I can successfully log in. Let's see. So go to your browser, just open your Redux tool. Here you can see some action, and now let's click on this login with Google. So some actions are fired, which is login request, login success, and load profile. Okay, and then just click on this state and just go to your auth reducer. Here is my auth object. Look at this, I have my access token. My user is null, by the way, I need to fix that, and then the loading is false. And why the user is null? Let's see. In my reducer, load profile, user is the payload, and let's click on the action, load profile, click on this action. I'm not getting the payload. Why? Load profile, I'm getting the payload, I'm not firing the payload. Auth.action, I'm actually firing the payload, but what about the profile? Looks like I have not created, the profile is not created. So profile, just log this out, just close this tab, I don't need that. Oh. So let's log in again, refresh this. My state is empty, like access token null, user null, loading is false. Click on this login with Google, click on an account. Look at this, my login is fired, by login request is fired, login success, load profile. Again my user is null. This is because name is undefined, photo URL is undefined. But why? Like inside this user, inside this additional user info, I have the profile object. I am getting the, oh, I don't have anything called display name. Oh, that's wrong. It should be picture. Nice. It should be name. That's a silly mistake. It should be name. That's a silly mistake, man. Picture. Save this. Now it should work. Refresh this. You don't need to refresh, by the way. Refresh this. Click on this login with Google. Click on an email. And by the way guys, the error you have just seen can be resolved by TypeScript. So that's why developers use TypeScript in the development mode. Now just go to Redux, state, my user is updated, I can see Look at this, my name is the Sumit Day and the photo URL is my photo. And again the loading is false cause in my load success I'm making the loading is false. And using the slider you can also see whenever the action is fired. So at first Redux fired the init function which is by default, and then it fired the login request. So click on this login request, you can see the auth is access token null, user is null, but the loading is true. And then go one step further, click on this login success, you can see the access token, but the user is null and the loading is false. And now one step further, click on this load profile, in this case the user is loaded. So that's the beauty of this tool. Okay, now if the request is success, I redirect my user to the home page. So just go to your login screen, login screen.js. So here I will check if the access token is not null, I redirect my user. So we need to read data from the Redux store. For that we will be using use selector. So const, I need the access token, right? So const access token, the name of the variable, you can name anything you want. Okay, so I need this use selector function, should be auto imported from React Redux. Use selector control space. Look at this at the top, this is imported from React Redux, and inside this use selector you need to pass a selector function, and that selector function will get the whole Redux state, and from that state you can just extract whatever you want. So state, so this is my whole Redux state, but what I want is state.auth. So remember that's the object I have stored all my authentication related details. Here is the auth object. So from this auth object I need this access token. So dot access token, as simple as that. And now I will check if at any point the access token is not null, I redirect my user to the home page. So you need to use effect. So use effect should be auto imported from React, and inside this use effect I have this function and then this dependency array, and inside this dependency array I need to pass the access token. So if anytime this access token does modified, this function will be re-executed. That's very simple. Okay, so inside this use effect let's put the logic. So if my access token is not null, I redirect my user to the home route, and to redirect I will use the history object from the browser, and I can get the history object using the React router hook, using one of the React router hook I should say, which is use history. So let's name this history, use history, which is offered by React router DOM. Look at this, auto imported from React router DOM, and that will return me the browser history, and using that browser history I can just redirect. So history, the name of the method is push, not pushu, push, only push, and the route is home route. That's it. And I need to also pass the history object inside this dependency array. That's it. Now look at this, I have already redirected to the home page because I have this access token. So let's just refresh this. My Redux store will be null. /auth, yes. Inside auth, yes, null. So just go to auth page, and now let's try to log in. Click on an account. That's it. So I'm on the home page. Now I need to protect the route, and what I mean by protect is just refresh this. At this point my auth is null, it means I don't have the access token, but I can still access the home page. I can still access the search page, right? So I need to protect the route. So if my user is not authenticated, I'll not give him access to these routes. So let's go to the code. Okay, so I'll basically check if the access token is null or not. If the access token is null, I'll redirect the user to the auth page. And the best place to implement this is my app.js, because that's my root component. Inside this app.js, app, just close this router, I don't need this. Close the layout, I don't need this. Okay, inside this app, first of all I need to get the data from the Redux store. For that I'll be using use selector. So const, I need the access token, and I also need the loading state. I'll talk about why I need the loading state. Use selector, just auto import this. Yes, use selector, I need to pass a selector function, and inside the selector function the state will be the global state, and from that global state I can go to the auth, and that's it. From that auth it will destructure my access token and the loading state. Nice. And then again an use effect from React, and then an arrow function, and also a dependency array. Inside this dependency array I will pass the access token and the loading state. That's it. So I will check inside this use effect. Inside this use effect I need to check if the access token is null or not, and I also need to check if the request is completed or not. So if the loading is false, it means the request is completed, but still I don't have the access token. At that point I redirect him to the auth page. So if it is not loading, if the loading is false, and if I don't have the access token, so if the access token is null, at that point I'll redirect him. So again I need to use the history object. And now here's the point. I can't just get access to the history object inside this app component because I have defined the router inside this app component. So I need to ship this router to the index page, I mean in the index.js, and then only I can access the history object. I mean basically I can get the history object in any of this component but not the app, because I have defined the router inside this app. So just go to index.js, here first of all import the router, I mean the browser router from React router DOM. So React router DOM browser router as router, that's it, and just wrap the app component router. Save this, just go to app.js, just remove this router, the closing tag, save this. I also don't need the browser router as router, so just don't import this. That's it. Now I can access the history object. Okay, cool. So at the top, const history is the use history. So the hook is coming from React router DOM. It will give me the history object, and then history.push to /auth, and also I need to include the history object inside this dependency array. Save this. Let's see. So my state is null. Refresh this. Look at this. I have been redirected to the auth page. Now let's try to go to /. Here it is. I have been redirected to the auth page just because I don't have the access token. But now there's a problem. Every time I refresh the page, my Redux state is going back to the initial state. And if it goes to the initial state, my access token is null. So I lost all the information about the user. So I need to persist this access token and the user in the browser storage, and every time the user refreshes the page, I need to get the data from the browser storage and put it into Redux store. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, I'm in the app.js and let's go to auth.action. Okay, so whenever I am firing this login success action, just before that I need to persist my storage. So here I don't need this profile logging, I don't need this response logging either. Okay, cool. So here, so I am going to use session storage, and why I am using session storage over local storage, I am going to explain this in a minute. So just put this token into session storage. So session storage dot set item, and then the key is access token. Now I like to use a prefix, so this one is YTC YouTube clone, so that I can recognize that this token belongs to my app, my YTC app. Okay, and then the value is access token, of course, access token, that's it. And also I need to persist the profile, so just copy this out. This one is my user, so user, and the value is profile. Nice. But now as this profile is an object, I just can't store this as a plain object. I need to stringify this. So let's just stringify this. So json.stringify, and just stringify this object. That's it. And now just go to the auth.reducer. Whenever I'm getting that initial state, auth.reducer, cool. At this initial state I need to check if I have the access token stored in my session storage. If that is stored, I need to get the data and put it into initial storage. So just remove this null and just check the session storage of session storage dot get item. Just get the item. The name of the value was YTC access token. I hope there should be a typo. Access token, not token. Cool. So if this is not null, I'll just store this. So just copy this one more time. So if this is not null, I'll just put this in my access token, and if this is null, then null. And then same for the user, session storage dot set item, and the name of the key was user. So if the user in my session storage, I'll just get that value and parse that and then put into user. So session storage dot set item, and now JSON dot parse, because the value is in the stringified state, right? Okay, and then null. That is cool. So let's check this out and let's log in with Google. So click on an account. Here it is my access token and the user. But now just go to the application and let's see my session storage. Here is my session storage. This is localhost 3000. Click on this and look at this. This is YTC user. This is YTC access token. Now just try to refresh this. Nice. Just go to Redux. Wow. Set item on session storage, arguments required but only one present. Oh, why set item? It should be get item. Nice. Probably you have noticed this and say, hey Sumit, what the heck are you doing? Get item. That is cool. So just try to refresh this. Yeah, that is cool. And just go to Redux, go to state, and here is my access token and here is my user. Nice. So if I now refresh the page, my token is persisted and now I am at the home page. That is cool. Now you can either use the session storage or the local storage, but the point is this access token is valid for only 60 minutes. So after 60 minutes you need to get another access token and then update the access token, and that's another separate topic, like what is ID token, what is refresh token, what is access token, how can you get the access token using the refresh token using Firebase. So I need to make a separate video on that particular topic. But for now, if you just put this token into a session storage, every time you close the window, your session storage will be null again and your access token will be null. So next time when you need to visit the app, you need to log in again and then the flow of the app will be continued. But now if you just put the token into a local storage and then close the browser without logging out, then after 1 hour your access token will be expired. So next time when you visit the app, you will not get the data, and then you will get some 401 error or 403 error, like unauthenticated request or something like that. So you will get some surprising error. So just to be a bit safer, I am using session storage. Like I don't think I will visit this app for over an hour. So the session storage is the best option, I guess. Okay. And now let's add the logout functionality. So if I click on this icon, logout icon, my user should be logged out. Okay, so let's do that. So basically let's go to the, okay, first of all create the action. So auth.action. So export const logout, the name of the action created, and then again it will get the dispatch, and it should be an asynchronous function because I'll be dealing with some asynchronous stuff. Now using Firebase, the logout functionality is very easy. Like you just need the auth object. So using that auth object, just call the method which is sign out. That's it. And it will also return me a promise. So just handle this using await. That is cool. And then just fire the action which is logout. Remember, we have also created the action type. So dispatch, which is type what? Logout. We need to import this. Logout should be auto imported. Nice. And any payload? No, nothing. Now if the user logs out, I need to clear my session storage. So let's clear the session storage. So session storage dot remove item. The name of the value was YTC access token, and another one is YTC user. That's it. And let's now catch this action type in my reducer. So just go to auth.reducer. This is logout. So let's handle the case logout. Should be auto imported, please. Nope. Nice. Try again, control space logout. Nice. Okay, cool. So what I want, first of all, copy the previous state, that's it. Just override the access token. My access token is null. If the user logs out, what happened? Something went wrong. Wow, I need to return. Nice. That is cool. And then the user is also null. Fine. And let's now fire this logout action. So just go to the sidebar.js. Here, yeah, logout. So let's add the onClick handler. So onClick event, the handler name is logout handler or something like that. Logout handler. Copy this. Let's define the function const logout handler, and we need the dispatch. So use dispatch. Use dispatch is a shortcut of VS Code. Use dispatch and just import this from React Redux. This use dispatch hook, and using this use dispatch hook I'll get the dispatch higher order function. So dispatch, and now just pass the logout action creator, which should be auto imported again, yes, from my auth action. Nice. And that is cool. Let's see. It is still compiling. My VS Code is damn slow. Nice. And let's try to log out. Click on this icon. Nothing happened. Seriously, nothing happened. I don't know, sometimes refresh does work. Click on this icon. Look at this. Anyway, just look at this difference, the state difference. The access token is null again. My user is null. And now just go to the application. Something happened to my voice. I think there will be some bugs. Okay, look at my session storage. The session storage is null again. That is cool. And what are the errors? Just go to console. Any error regarding the Redux Flow? First one is the dirty error, and the second one is related to key. Not a problem. We'll fix that once we go to the home screen. Okay, so one of the fundamental part of our app, which is the authentication, is done. And in the next videos, we are going to get our API key and then render some data. It will be fun, guys. So see you in the next videos. Bye. And wait, please hit the like button, like please. And if you are new to this channel, I make videos on web development and web designing. So if it sounds interesting, please consider subscribing my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.